You've eaten Gotham's wealth, its spirit, but your feast is nearly over.
This isn't a blood hole. It's an operating table. And I'm the surgeon. Why aren't you laughing?
From this moment on, none of you are safe.
Welcome to the Batman Book Club, a podcast exploring the Dark Knight Library. I am your host, Ryan Lauer. The Batman Book Club is a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network, hosted by Batman on Film. Just go to batmanonfilm.com, click on podcasts, and you'll find the Batman Podcast Network that has a whole list of other bat-related shows that also like to dive into other nerdy subjects that all of us, especially Peter Vera, love to frolic about in their free time. Batman Book Club's also on Patreon, so if you like what's going on with the show and you want to help support the show and keep the generators running in the Wayne Manor study, join the others at patreon.com/thebatmanbc. Now, massive joy-gasm for this episode because we have another anniversary. So yes, the last episode was talking about an anniversary. Well, we've got a double-decker here this month because it's another anniversary. This is episode number 239, and we're talking Batman Forever. Now, 28 episodes ago, there was also a Batman Forever titled episode. That was also 5 years ago, and that was the Batman Forever novelization in celebrating the 25th anniversary of Batman Forever. Did that with great Rob Myers. Excellent and different episode than what this is going to be, not just because who my guest is, but because of the content. So I highly recommend go back to episode 11 in 2020. Check that one out too, because it's pretty fascinating. Joining me on this one, he's part of the Greatest Ryans of All Time club, and also he's my exclusive adaptation reviewer. It's Ryan Haas. Hello, Ryan Haas.
Hello, Ryan Lauer. I'm so thrilled to be back
Yes.
on the Batman Book Club, doing yet another adaptation. I do agree with you about the anniversaries. I don't know what it is. Actually, I do know what it is about like June feeling like a good month or a good time to do anniversary type episodes of Batman. You know, with 85 whatever plus years of history, there's always going to be an anniversary or a thing that you talk about.
Really?
But for movie things, you know, back in the day, movies used to come out in the summer only. You know, we don't have as strict of a timeline these days, but there is something special about that summer movie season and summer and school's out and it's a break time. It's a good little time of the year to kind of like reflect on things and change gears a little bit. And of course, the anniversary of something like Batman Forever is a great opportunity to go back and look at other forms of media that it inspired.
I'm thinking now, I'm trying to do the math, and it's like literally every year that ends in like a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5. I don't know if a 6, and 6 is good.
6 is good. I mean, we'll get it
7,
eventually.
and a 9. Like I'm just going through of everything, like every live action
Bat
movie,
milestones.
and then
We'll get
even
it.
Mask of the Phantasm. It's almost like we're gonna there's some
There's a
anniversary
3.
every single year.
Yeah.
And
You
more
know.
specifically, you're zoning in on June's, and it's like 89 Returns, Forever, Batman and Robin, Batman Begins.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I wanted to make sure that I was fueled for this episode, so I've got my green Batman Forever T-shirt on right now. But Haas, I
You
just
drinking
poured
out of
me
the... Yes, you did.
a fresh glass of Mountain Dew in a
This
Riddler
episode
McDonald's
sponsored
cup.
by McDonald's.
Yeah, because as everybody knows, anybody listening to this podcast, McDonald's Batman Forever glasses are one of the most historically beloved things in the nerd space, I think.
Yeah, like fast food tie-in, like, you know, there's a whole culture
The greatest
of
fast food tie-in
fast
probably
food
ever.
tie-in like communities, and that is where the crossover happens. Is the Batman Forever tie-in glasses? Those are just amazing. And since our last show on Batman Forever, I believe we have now seen like the concept art. Like Neil Adams himself did concept art for the McDonald's glasses, and I've seen what they could have looked like, and they were very intricate and very interesting. Of course, I like what the final designs we got, but seeing the work in progress or like the other ideas were just
They could have done
incredible.
a second edition
They
and
could
just
have
done different
absolutely.
designs, and they would
Maybe
have sold the
McDonald's will
crap out
do
of them.
that when the Schumacher cut comes out.
Yeah, but come on, McDonald's. You used to be great.
They should.
You used to be
Can you
great.
imagine if they should sponsor it like the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever sponsored by McDonald's.
It's
Just would
just
love
that,
that.
humanity used to get it right more consistently back
I
in the day.
know. What has happened to our society?
What is going on now? I mean, everything. I don't know. But anyways,
Yeah.
I'm happy to reminisce. I definitely want to get in the zone here, filling up my Riddler glass. I couldn't. I mean, really quick, then we'll get to the comic. Which of the four glasses is probably your favorite? You can only keep one, and that's an
Oh,
unfair question. It's
oh my
unfair, but
gosh.
you can only pick one.
So we have Batman, Riddler, Two-Face, and Robin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I would knock it down between Batman and Two-Face. Two-Face is so good though, because doesn't the isn't the handle for
Yes.
Two-Face
It's
like
a
the
flipping
flipping
coin.
coin? I gotta
Yeah.
pick Two-Face. That's
Oh
just
my
too
gosh.
unique.
I think that's really like it's really hard because like as we'll say here, you and I have said what thousands of times probably in our life, Jim Carrey at that time was just like so magnetic. Him as Riddler, he's the star of the show. So it's like just for affinity of the movie, I'd want to be like Riddler. But like that Two-Face handle, the level of detail and that Two-Face handle with the flipping coin is amazing. Like the attention to detail. Um, like I think that I'd have to give it to Toothpaste, but then it's like, but what's
Hmm.
attached to that? Tommy Lee's performance as Two-Face.
I know, I know, I know, I
Hopefully
know.
we'll never be in that position when we have to choose one. That is
Yeah,
Sophie's choice.
yeah,
Like I don't care about Sophie's choice in the movie. This is a real Sophie's choice.
I
Okay.
know.
But we're not gonna have to deal with that. So, yeah, we talked the novelization, and I knew 5 years ago it was pretty tough of like, do I want to do the comic or the novel? And I chose the novel, hoping
Right.
I'm like, hopefully Ryan Haas and I still know each other in 5 years so we can talk the comic, and we do. So we're here, and we're gonna talk the Batman Forever comic book adaptation. So this obviously it's always the easiest kind of homework to do. This came out in 1995, just like the movie did.
Did it?
Yeah, how about that?
IN came out when the movie came out. That's great.
Exactly. Written by or adapted by the great, legendary Denny O'Neil, R.I.P., with
Hmm.
art by Michael Dukevich. Fortunately, a name that I know how to pronounce
Look at that.
because I knew know
Impressed.
somebody in my life that is their last name, and so I know how to pronounce
Whoa.
it. Uh,
Nice.
there were
Or
two.
but the first name.
Mikal.
Mikal. Yes.
Wow, dyslexia. Because I seriously thought there was an E there the whole time.
Well, I mean, you just glance
Damn
at
it!
it and you think like Batman, Michael Keaton.
Damn it! I hope it's Michael. Um, you know what? M. Dukevich. I'll flip my usual and just go initial for the first name. Two. This was fun to see. Looking stuff up. Two covers to this, but yet that was
Two.
yeah. Oh my gosh. But that's like part of the norm as well
Yeah,
because
the
89 had
newsstand. Yeah,
exactly.
they were all at newsstand. Yeah, I don't know if we've talked about this on the adaptation shows just exactly. But yeah, like these were more mass produced than the normal comic book, but and that's why they had like a literal newsstand
Yeah.
version and a more what do they call it,
Prestige.
prestige format.
Yeah.
So the idea is that the prestige format you see in a nice comic book store on the wall,
Yeah.
and the newsstand version you find at a newsstand or in a grocery store,
What are
which I
those?
totally did. Yeah, we had at our local grocery store, Ingles, in East Tennessee. I did pick up both. I know I picked up the. We had a little comic book section in there. It was amazing. It just it, going to get groceries. I would always be able to see comic books. I remember very vividly, to date when that would have been. Like I remember the amalgam
Hmm.
comic book like crossover stuff being there, and I definitely picked up the Batman Returns adaptation that way, and I believe I picked up the newsstand Batman Forever version too. And at that time, I even as a kid, I recognized, oh, there's a difference between these. So
Yeah.
yeah, but for and there was also the same deal for other adaptations at the time, like the Mask of the Phantasm also has
Hmm.
like two different covers, and
And
yeah, it's a cool thing because that way we get more art, more
I've only
interpretation.
got one for each movie, and it's like it's funny how it's
Oh,
gone back and forth of where
yeah.
I've got the Prestige for 89, I've got the Newsstand for Returns, I've got the Prestige here. Actually, I think Batman and Robin I have Prestige, but it's like it as a kid, I think you'd want the Prestige. It just seems like fancier and all that, but like
It's
now
fancier.
the paper of the newspaper stand kind is like I'm a sucker for that. That's what
Yeah.
I want my
The
comics to be.
Prestige format was my preferred one as a kid
Yeah.
because we didn't have, iPhones and even forward thinking a little bit. We didn't have our PlayStation PSPs with their UMD discs with Batman movies on it. We
Yeah.
couldn't watch the things on the go. So that's why the comic book adaptations and novelizations were such a
Yeah.
more prevalent thing back in the day
100%.
because those were other ways to experience the film when you're not in a theater or not in front of a TV. And because
Yeah.
these are released in the summer, this was the perfect thing for me to like I would bring stacks of comics with me
Everywhere.
to well everywhere, but mainly in the summer. You go to
Yeah.
summer school or summer camp, so I would take stacks of comics to summer to school with me, so I could have something to do during the day. And the prestige format books were always more my go-to because they're more resilient, and a kid just bringing books around. It's
Uh-huh.
they survive a beating around
Yeah.
the school a lot better, and they always felt like events. The oh, I've got the movie in my hand, and I can kind of take my mind there when I'm like stuck in summer school all day or summer camp all day. So though that's definitely a vivid memory there.
Absolutely. I wouldn't mind just for the collector in me to grab the newsstand version of this and
Hmm.
89
Yeah, they're
Prestige of
fun.
Returns. Yeah, just to have them because like I said, the whole paper quality thing. But
Paper quality
um
thing, and just these movies, these Burton Schumacher movies, are so intrinsic to Batman on film and our
yeah,
bat generation in terms of being formative, collective,
formative, yes.
cinematic moments and occurrences and
Yeah.
of Batmania and there are corners they are like one of the major cornerstones of Batman fandom for sure.
So it's surprising to me. So the two different styles, but of the same book, came out of newsstand and prestige physical copies. It's also been collected in Batman the Movies trade paperback
You
that you
don't
have.
say.
That's right. That's what Haas has in his hands right now. That you have brought up. I think each time that we've done the comic
Yeah,
adaptations.
it's been my excuse to pull this version out and read it
Yeah.
from this tome.
Surprisingly, this one not available digitally, and
I
that one
wonder if that's
surprises me.
a rights thing,
Yeah,
like
I
a
don't know.
likeness thing. I don't know.
I feel
Or
like
maybe it's just
I feel
part
like
of
once
like DC's aversion to hating on Batman Forever and not
Yeah,
making
I don't know
Schumacher
because
cuts and
I
stuff.
feel like once the comic is produced, it's out there. Like the rights have been cleared and it's fine. It's good to go.
It's
It's
like,
DC
don't they own
property.
their own
So
stuff? Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I don't know what the
strange.
story is for that, but it just surprises me that that's it. So Haas, which we just kind of said, which version do you have? You have the trade
I've
Batman
got
the
them all.
movies.
I
Oh,
bought them
I'm sorry for
all.
this episode.
Oh, for this episode,
Yeah, I should say that.
I read the version that's in Batman the movies, the collected out of
All
print
right.
trade paperback.
I said I have the prestige version, which I
Mm-hmm.
will say
And the
I
cover,
freaking love the cover
yeah,
of
and in
that.
Batman the movies, you get you get the
Okay,
cover turns into a two-page spread
nice.
for each film. So
Yeah,
it's
that looks
pretty
good.
neat.
I love the painting of this. It says that it cover painting by John Hanley. I could not find out who did the newsstand cover. I think that one's a little boring, to be honest.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It's got the great Batman Forever symbol on the back, which one of the
Mm-hmm.
best uh definitely most nostalgic bat symbols
Mm-hmm.
that I've ever seen. But I love this painting, and it might be my favorite like cover of these so far, these comic adaptations, just because I
Hmm.
do think that's an awesome cover. When did you first read this?
1995 when it first came out.
Attaboy. Well
Yep.
done.
Yep.
It's funny because I think I mentioned on episode 11, the Batman Forever novelization, I think I mentioned on that episode that recently, before recording that, was the first time that I read this comic adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't like to say, like, I know I read this. I can't tell you when. I feel like that's almost like a cop out. I don't remember reading this as a kid. I can flat out remember walking into a store and like up on the front at Batman Forever time, it had three comics like stand up and then stacks of them. And it was the Batman Forever comic adaptation. It was the Two-Face prestige story
Mm-hmm.
with Ian
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
DeMatteis and Scott McDaniel, and the Riddler uh,
Mm-hmm.
prestige story with Matt Wagner and Dave Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
I got the Riddler and Two-Face comics that year for birthday or Christmas,
Yeah.
and I did not get the Forever adaptation, which was
Aha.
fine to me because at that point I had the movie that I
You
was
have the movie
watching
at
on
home.
VHS all
Yeah.
the freaking time. And
Yeah.
these were two new stories that were different. And I read, oh my gosh, that Riddler story is one of my favorite Riddler stories. I read
Yeah,
the
it's a good
shit out
one.
of
It's a good
that.
one.
Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna stand by that for this one for whatever reason I didn't read until 2020. So,
Mm.
um, and then maybe the easiest question that I'll ask you for all of this, why did we choose Batman Forever, the comic adaptation, to talk about on this episode?
It's the anniversary, and we are going down the list of media
And
related
there
to it.
you go.
Tune in
This
next summer for
what
the
do we got next?
tie-in book.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I have a plan for next summer, and
Oh,
it's gonna be a
good.
good one.
Summer
Our
of
friend Jay
Lauer.
Yaws is included on this, and that might
Yes.
trigger now what you think
Oh,
I'm
I
talking
know
about.
what that is.
Now you
Oh,
know.
I know what
Okay,
that is. I'm
stay
ready.
tuned.
I've been ready. I instigated this whole thing.
You sure did. Let's see, Batman Forever. So the novelization is going to be pretty fuzzy to me of all the additional parts in that aren't just flat out
And
stuff
didn't
from the
Peter David
movie.
just pass away?
Did he? I
Did he?
forgot if
Was I
that's true.
insensitive?
No. Um, R.I.P. if so. And
I mean, writer of
there's
the fantastic.
the
Yeah, he just
novelization.
passed away in May.
I'd
This year,
say,
sadly.
oh, let's see.
Yeah.
Returns. I have not read the novelization. Yeah, so I've only read novelizations of Forever and 89
Yeah, if you're
and The
gonna
Dark
read one,
Knight.
yeah, like which
Forever is the one to read,
for
man.
the listeners, yes, that's exactly my point. I was gonna say for the listeners, which novelizations have we covered on this show, and then and then for all of them, yeah, I've been on a lot of the novelization ones, but like if you're gonna read one of Batman movie, it would be Batman Forever because it is so different. Not different, but like the context, it's a novel. It's a
It
whole. It's like
is.
takes the
Yeah.
idea of Batman Forever and the script and like makes it its own
Yeah.
crazy thing. And so yeah, Peter David did such a
But
good
there
job with
are,
that.
and I'll say I'll bring it up when we get to it, but there are parts in this comic that did trigger like I do remember that in the novelization and I remember that in the novelization. There isn't a ton, but I do remember some of them. So I think
Yeah.
like straight up because the Forever novelization is the only adaptation you haven't been on for this show.
Hmm.
But like I think a common theme like thread or theme of each one is like dialogue and maybe a comic
Yes.
book panel is different. I think there's more
Sure.
than that to the Forever comic adaptation though. And you can credit that to what we know of like the script was pretty different from the end result movie. But I
Yes.
think this has more differences than any of the other ones that we've talked about in the comics thus far. Don't you think so?
Thus
So
far, I would
89
agree.
returns
Yes, I would agree.
begins. Yeah.
But between dialogue and scene construction, and we all kind of know the reasons for that, right? Batman Forever probably had
Yeah.
more scenes cut, rearranged, reshaped, than the previous two films.
And I do think so. That was like my biggest point, or the biggest thing I remember in this is the reshuffling, the
Yeah,
reshaping. The lineup of stuff in the movie is different than the lineup of stuff in the novelization, and different than the lineup of stuff in this comic. As we all know, um, the Bat must die. We
yeah,
know that exists. We can see the footage of it is in the extras of the movie, but like maybe not everybody knew where in the movie that was gonna be. That but apparently was scripted at the beginning.
at
Arkham
the beginning.
Asylum, that we see the exterior shot at the end of the movie. That's the opening panel of this comic, which
Yep.
makes me, and I wonder, or not wonder, it's at the beginning of the novelization too. And
Yeah.
so I totally get though.
I
So the
think if you see the
scrapping
even the red diary cut of Batman Forever, the fan cut, like it also
is
starts with that.
beginning.
Yeah.
Well, like I I can understand for the movie why they want to open it with action Batman shot.
Action
Like
Batman.
action
Yeah.
scene. Like
Yep.
I do get it. I really do.
Yep.
Here though it takes a different route, which also is something that I preview for 2 years from now, Batman and Robin comic. But the first page starts of like a script, like a piece of a
Mm-hmm.
script. I don't remember that happened in Returns. Um, I dig it.
Right.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
fun little thing to start. But the
Yeah.
the shuffling of it all is Arkham, Two-Face has broken out, and then next day we're at, Wayne Enterprises with Bruce Wayne, and we're
Or it's
getting
like that
a.
same night. Like, he's or it
I
always
mean,
made me
I
think
guess
like it's
could be.
that same night and it's
Okay.
nighttime when Bruce Wayne just happens to be doing the tour, and then that bat signal is what leads him into the Two Face confrontation, and they rearranged that in the final film
Yeah,
to lead into different scenes.
exactly.
Hmm.
So we get a quick little we get the Two-Face kind of update backstory like on voiceover from the TV as Bruce is walking into Wayne Enterprises and the exchange from Enigma. So it's fun because it's structured differently. And it makes me wonder too, like this is a great example of two different mediums. So I can't necessarily say this works better than that one. The only way I could compare is if the structuring of scenes from the comic was shot and put in that order in the live action movie, and then compare the two.
Yeah,
You can literally compare the two different cuts of Justice League and say
yeah,
which one do you think's better because they're of the same
yeah, yeah,
medium
yeah,
and
yeah.
two cuts. This is
Hmm.
just it's two different forms of media. So
Yeah,
I remember that part
yeah,
from the
and
novel.
yeah.
The and what I think the fun thing with all these adaptations and reading is me mishearing and believing what I was mishearing in movies as the
In
dialogue.
movies, and that was also before you could really get easily get subtitles
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
exactly.
films.
So
Yeah.
I always took it as saw the signal, sir. Always ready. Nope. Maybe the movie he says it's always. I don't know. I'm gonna need to rewatch Batman
I think he
Forever
definitely says always
Arkham
ready.
Nighttime. He
Yeah, he
does say
says
always ready
that.
there. Okay. Well, here
Yeah.
he says all is ready, and then
Oh,
it cuts into
maybe he
the.
does say all is ready. I don't know.
I know. I don't know. That was me. But then it's a great. That's our first exterior back shot of Wayne Manor, the bat signal, cool comic panel and everything,
Hmm.
and then it's to the opening of the movie. So right
Yeah.
there's different restructuring. Totally works. Great art. I think what I miss, we get an interior shot of the Batmobile leaving, well, exterior him leaving the cave in the Batmobile, but then we're in the Batmobile with Batman. I love and this made me think of 89, Batmobile speeding to Gotham. Like that's a shot.
Yes.
I like he's going to the city. Like I'm a sucker for those kind of
Oh yeah, yeah,
shots.
yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
give me some of that.
Y'all saw that in your head when I did that sound effect, don't lie.
If you're whatever you imagined, it was exactly what he did.
Here you go.
And I mean, next, and I don't want to go beat by beat on all of this because
Yeah.
we can't mention every single thing that's different, but dialogue exchanges, some of it's different, but I do think what we see with Two-Face and the Coin, the security guard, and Batman, I think it definitely reads different than Tommy Lee Jones's performance.
I that was my one of my biggest notes of the entire book is
Uh-huh.
both the way Two-Face is drawn and with the alternate it's probably some combo of Denny O'Neil massaging the dialogue and then also just using what was in the script
Hmm.
originally before shooting. It does mellow out this Two-Face quite a bit different. I
Yeah.
was kind of surprised to kind of hear more of the Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face. I wish we got like in my head. I was reading this. I actually read some of the dialogue out loud when I was reading this morning, and I was like, wow, this would have been a much nicer juxtaposition between because it's not like they did not really go in and add a bunch of cackling hoo-ha hee-hees like
Yeah.
to his dialogue. All, the only like towards the end of
Hmm.
the
We can jump all
adaptation
over the place.
is when Two-Face starts to say and act a little goofier in terms of dialogue and jokes and
Sure.
things.
Yeah.
But like his face, the way like his face, his Two-Face face looks, and like that his very first intro scene, he just has this very somber, driven, like spooky look to him. And so the dialogue in my head comes across a lot differently than in the movie. And it's interesting because for so many of these adaptations, you read the dialogue, and we've seen these movies a million times. So of course you hear the dialogue exactly how you heard it
Yeah.
from the movie. But for this one, it's interesting. This and specifically with Two-Face, just making it feel like, oh, this kind of changes the experience a little bit in a good way.
Yeah. 100%. And it's funny how because you mentioned at the end about how he starts to get a little bit more Tommy Lee Jonesy that we see. And I
Yeah.
cannot read this without it's not present on the page. No more riddles, no more curtains. One and two, just plain old curtains. Like that's not in
Curtains.
the comic, but I heard it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, I'm totally with you. And I think that's like the biggest highlight, or not the biggest highlight. One thing in this is it's funny how it can just read and like I read him almost and I think I remember saying this to Rob on the novelization episode that I
Mhm.
was reading and I was hearing him as the Harvey Dent
Yes,
on
this
BTAS.
rings a bell. Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
it
yeah.
like
Hmm.
that's how I read the novel and
Yeah,
pictured him and I know there was a scene with him on a rooftop too and all that and I'm like, man,
yeah,
it's this just reads so much better even though I know the
it
version. Well,
does.
this version gives the visual so that we
Yeah,
can even bring it closer to the movie and yet
yeah,
still he seemed much colder in a lot
much
of what he was
colder.
saying. Like
Yeah,
he says to Spice at one point too and he's like trollop and she says, "Scold me again." He's no. Like he
yeah,
just
yeah,
seems
yeah.
very blunt and cold and right to the point.
More
And
like you would imagine Two-Face to be.
yeah, and then the Riddler, like in that same scene, and he's like, "Show's over. Let's see if you bleed green." Like that's not a Batman interpretation, but I hear
Let's
him
see
almost
if
like
you
a little bit
bleed
more
green.
like, "Let's see,"
It's like,
yeah, like that as opposed to let's
yeah,
see if you bleed green.
yeah, and
Just
and
toned down.
seeing it interpreted in the book this way makes me think it. I'm like, oh, like Tommy Lee Jones could have had exactly the same like makeup and everything and just had some subtle tweaks to the dialogue and performance that would have completely changed how he comes across in this movie. It's
Yeah.
quite remarkable.
Yep. Yeah, and there's something present in this comic which it really did as I got older, but I know the question stemmed when I was younger too. I'm not gonna sit there and act like it was the first time I saw it or the ninth time I saw it, but like as I started to approach 100 times of watching this movie,
Mhm.
it never made
87.
sense to me how Riddler found Two-Face's hideout and how he
Sure.
already had his milkshake boxes on the TVs there and everything. And we get a
Yeah,
quick little explanation here.
it's interesting because so many things in these adaptations are cut out. but some interesting tidbits get thrown in that actually give you some connections. I don't remember if the novelization gives us some of those
Yeah, I don't remember
explanations.
either because
Um,
it's such a small point,
but uh,
but
but
it's
even
something
later,
huge.
you get more Claw Island stuff.
Yeah.
You get yeah, like how the Riddler found things. Yeah,
Yeah, which is
pretty
just, I
cool.
mean, it's a small note, but I really, I did like that because it also, in reading it, leans into the two a little bit more. Like, really quick, he just says,
Yeah,
you correlated all dualities in the city, cross-referenced all addresses with multiples of two, crunched the probabilities
and
by
this is Two-Face
bicoastal,
saying it.
bizonal localities, leading you here. Like,
Yeah,
something reading that gave me joy because it was like
a
you're
joygasm.
leaning into the Two-Face stuff, but it still feels very like more mature and
Yeah,
in than what we got. And it's a small thing, but I dug it. An
yeah.
additional scene also is in Nigmatech
Hmm.
where Sugar and Spice and Two-Face and Riddler are all chilling on the couch with all the money that they've stolen, and they're just, I
Oh,
mean,
I love this.
this is a
It's
drug scene
it's a
because
drug
you're just
scene.
taking hits, but it's off the
Yeah,
box, so it's like family friendly.
yeah.
and
But
and
I like the extra added context that gives to
yeah,
what Riddler's tech is actually doing on somebody that's not him.
hmm
It took me a while as a kid to really understand what Riddler's stuff even was really doing. Like
yeah,
they they smartly tried to add more to Riddler as a character and motivation and a shtick in the movie than just a guy that tells riddles and stuff. I mean, so having the whole VR tech thing, brainwaves, like that's interesting. But having even more extrapolated instances in this, I mean, you got a little bit in the movie where he just this is your brain in the box, poof, and he just
yeah.
sticks it on his head. He's like, oh, that's good. I want more. But you didn't really get a sense of like,
Here's the
oh,
bargain.
it's making you smarter. It's you're being able to suck brainwaves and read minds and things.
And I think we're in a state now, and we have been for quite a while, that they're. And I was listening to some podcast that was talking about 90s movies and how 90s movies used to be a little bit more like it just is. We're not going to sit there and bang you over the head with explanation of everything. It's like you're
Yeah,
dropped
like just
into
wear your
a
suspenders of
scene
disbelief and have fun
and have
in
fun with
it.
it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I am I am that way sometimes with some movies, but it's so like now we need the context. The villains need to also just be misguided and not true villains. I miss that
Right, right,
villains are
right.
just freaking
Just
bad.
a-holes. Yeah.
Yeah. But like it is a criticism that holds up of Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face just is nobody's favorite. Like it's
Right,
just
right,
not
right.
that great. And it's like, man, these
Yeah.
tweaks, a movie.
He's one of the Batman villains with the most depth.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that's one of the things he is so known for, and to see him in Batman Forever reduced to, for such a two-dimensional character, seeing him
Yeah.
has brought down to very one-dimensional is has always been pretty
Yeah,
disappointing.
and it's like it's a movie that you and we're of the same era. So like we loved the movie. We still love the movie, but it's like,
Yeah.
man, that's the one thing, even the tweaking of him, like what that could have done for the movie, I think.
Yeah.
Like elevated it a little bit more.
Yep. Yep, there's so
Riddler.
much DNA in Batman Forever
hmm
that it could easily have been the best movie of the four.
hmm
And I've said this on other shows, and BOF has gotten through all the way through the Batman Forever chapter by chapter. But those podcasts that we've all that you were on and I
hmm
was on, like it it continue like every time I revisit Batman Forever, the more appreciation I have for it about for how much it actually did do in terms of story juggling and character arcs and things like that. Like it gets so much incredibly right, and it does not get the accolades it deserves because partly
It
because of the Schumacher deal and being lumped in with Batman and Robin and all that kind of
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
It's I think it's coming back around because of maybe because of an anniversary year. but
Anniversary. We
the
lost Val
love
Kilmer
for
this
it.
year,
Yeah, so it's back up to getting a lot of love, but then it does seem to have its points of being cool to dump on it and how it's a mess and it's all blah 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 blah,
Hmm.
which I don't care about any of that. When it comes to, let's see, jump around to characters. I think Riddler, for the most part, what we get in the movie is what we get in here, just expanded upon in the movie because Carrie was just delivering and firing on all
Yeah,
16 cylinders that he
yeah,
has. And I definitely read him here, like no complaints on anything in here because any changes with him I think were kind of minimal, minus the addition of the scene where, you like my jacket? It keeps me safe while I'm jogging at
jogging at
night.
night. Yes.
And he sticks Chase with the needle in her neck.
Yeah.
Which we know we've seen that picture cut from the movie. We've seen that still, but we've never seen the scene and how that would be. And that's included here in this comic, which, makes me
Hmm.
cringe just a little bit because that's a big needle.
Yeah.
But otherwise, he's pretty much what we know from the movie. So, okay, good job on Denny for. Granted, he's working from a script anyway, but there's
Yeah.
connectivity there of like what you see is what you see. I don't know what do I want to say. It's kind of the same in both mediums, and
Yeah.
I'm all good for that.
Yeah.
Minor
Parody.
changes for Robin.
Yeah.
It, he doesn't have
Flying
a
Graces
brother.
are a three person show. I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and that works to keep the story moving.
And
I
I
mean,
can
no offense,
it keeps it
brother, but
moving. It keeps it moving, and I can tell, and I can assume Denny is obviously a Batman history purist in some form. So he's probably just like, we don't need the brother. Flying
yeah,
Graces doesn't matter,
yep. I think the trio works. The bomb is much smaller than in the movie,
Yeah.
and the Batmobile taking a ride
Oh,
out in the
loved
Batmobile.
this change. I love this change. I don't know if this was in the. Oh no, no, that was yeah, that was cool, and that was less flamboyant, I guess, less of a.
Definitely, it looks like
It's less
uh,
visually interesting, and I love the part of in the movie where he confronts Batman like in the streets, but it was a smart transition to keep things moving in this
yeah.
adaptation. The thing that I was going to mention was, or I
Well,
think it's
before we move
earlier.
out of
Yep,
that
yep,
scene,
yep.
real quick, is you get the point, but the there's no neon gang. It
Right.
looks like the neighborhood that Bruce Wayne goes in year one. It's just a
Sure.
different artist drawing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
takes out the two
Ooh,
guys.
that's a good
It's
call.
grungy and
Ooh,
like dirty and
yeah,
all that, and it's really
yeah,
like not visually. Story wise, it's the same as what we see from the movie, but like
yeah,
visually, it's different, and I think
yeah,
that's a maturity level difference that I do like.
yeah.
I don't hate on the Neon Gang. I don't. It is what it is. Like that's in Batman Forever.
It's a nice, seemingly intentional
Hmm.
departure from the crazy glitz and neon of this reinterpreted Gotham City because it's showing you that you're in a clearly seedier place of the city.
Yeah, and there's no confrontation of Batman and him in the comic. The conversation is picked up
Right.
back
It's in the
in the
Batcave.
Batcave.
Yeah.
Now, do you? Because I thought about this of like we didn't see it in Batman and Robin either, I don't think, but let's stick to Forever. There was no Batman and Robin slash Batman and Dick Grayson riding together in a Batmobile.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
it's like,
That
I
was
never
not.
thought about that before, really, but it's
Yeah.
like, I would have
Like there
liked that
was
somewhere.
that's why I'm still holding out hope for like a Batman 96 like comic that is transitions the two.
Yeah,
I would really love to see that. I really hope DC does something with that at some
because
point.
I feel like it could totally have worked here that just like in the movie, Batman arrives and, um, he jumps in the driver's seat, Dick gets in the passenger seat, and then this dialogue is their ride back to the Batcave, and it's all in the Batmobile. And I'm like, man,
Mm,
that's something different. That could have been cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
we've seen
it'd
how
have been
cool that
fine,
can
but
be in like Batman the Animated Series, right?
exactly, and that's exactly
Um,
what I thought too, is the two of
yeah.
them in the Batmobile. But
It's interesting.
okay,
It's like how many and of course in Batman and Robin you couldn't do that because it was a one-seater. But
hmm
surprisingly Batman and Batman Returns have some pretty like those are the movies that have pretty good to great interior vehicle scenes. I mean, they're
Obviously,
more
we didn't
than
see it in Batman and Robin. It's a one-seater.
right.
I don't
Yeah,
know why I was questioning. I'm like, I don't want to be
yeah,
wrong, but I don't think we did. No, we didn't. Robin didn't
yeah,
sit on his lap. Didn't happen.
yeah.
You were gonna say something else about before I catch us
Yeah,
up with the
so
movies here.
the I like the scene the way that the adaptation does the scene with Two-Face and the thugs tracking down the Batmobile in Gotham City. It
That
kind of
makes more sense.
it's more sense just the little dialogue of like, oh yeah, we've just been scoping out GCPD so they could like get Batman. Like I that plays out cooler. Like not I don't want to say cooler because in the movie it's cool because the Batmobile drives up the ceiling, the walls and stuff. But it just kind of the placement of it is just strange and there's not enough context around like what's this scene. So yeah, I like the reason it exists in
Yep.
the this adaptation.
That was another reshuffling that I remember from the novelization
Yeah.
was the in reading that it was a effective and left an impression on me in reading it of like, wow, it like this snaps the pieces together better than the order of the movie. Because the order
Yes.
of the movie
Yes.
is he's in Wayne Enterprises, sees the bat signal,
Yes.
chair, all that to go
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah.
Chase on the roof, and then he just jumps off and women and drives off, and then
Yeah.
pick up Edward, blah blah, all that. Here it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
such
yeah.
a just um suit up, go, it's Chase, and then jumps down, and then you think that he's in the clear, and it's like, nope, this is where Two-Face and his gangs are, as opposed to
Yeah.
that action scene just coming in the movie because we need an action scene. We filmed it. Where do we put it? I don't know. Let's just put it here. Okay, we're good. And then that plays the Batmobile. It's not off-putting, but it's surprising. So people bitched about the McFarlane Batmobile having the green underlights, which is
Mm.
actually in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's red throughout. There's no blue. So I don't know when it got changed to blue or what. Um, it's just like it's interesting to me that yeah, that whatever page where we first see the Batmobile driving through the woods, yeah, the underlights are the lights are red. There's no green.
Yeah, and then the red lights are in the on the Batwing at the end too.
Hmm. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
It makes me think of the that color scheme was also kind of in some of the toys as well early on.
Mr. Haas. Glad you
Yeah.
just said Batwing.
Yes.
I hope I wouldn't have forgotten about that.
Yes.
Interesting here, we get a glimpse of the Batboat, but then the
Hmm.
Batwing, the cave under the cave. So
Yeah.
there's dialogue to give context as opposed to
Yeah.
where's that? Where is that? And
Yeah.
apparently they both ride in the Batwing together, and it purposely crashes into the water to be a submarine. It doesn't make sense to me
It's
unless they're trying to
strange
be under the
because
radar doing the
well,
submarine. I don't know.
well, it's interesting because they do show that the Batwing and Batboat are two discrete separate
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And then one page later it makes it look like the I don't know. I think it's more like the Batwing. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Like I don't know. I don't know what the deal was. I think they probably just thought like who cares, like whatever.
And which is fine, but I
Yeah,
mean,
because
we're here to pick it apart, so we
yeah, we
are.
are. Uh, I like the jellyfish,
Yeah,
so
why
next to the
not?
bat boat. Because I read it and I was like, oh, are they trying to tell us that like the Batwing turns
Aquaman
into
was
the
in
Bat
Batman
Sub?
Forever.
Well, no, that the Batwing turns into the Bat Sub and the Bat Sub turns into the Bat Boat, and I'm like, no, that's not true because it
Yeah.
shows the Bat Boat separately. So yeah, I guess you could assume that they're just hitting going to Claw Island from different vantage points as like a tactic or something. They
It
just kind
does.
of go over it, probably just be like, well, we have to have both the vehicles in it, even if they're gonna skip over
Yeah.
the battleship stuff. And then, that's probably something that Denny did. It's like, what can I eliminate from this like, adaptation that makes things less goofy? I
Yeah.
bet that was something, because we don't see that. We don't see, you know, show me how to punch a guy or we're wearing the crowns and we don't see any of that the goofier stuff in here.
Well, I mean, and that was something I did notice this as a kid is like this movie is like, yeah, we've got Robin, but why is Robin in the movie? Batman has to save him. So by eliminating
Yeah.
the at least the Batboat, it removes Batman having to save his ass like one time. It eliminates that once to where it's just like he only has to
One of
save
his
him
savings.
at the end.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know, that part was noticeably different, but this is kind of striking for Batman trying the new suit, the sonar suit, and where I want to note M. Dukevich's art in this, and even I mean you could say even the colorist Adrian Roy.
Yeah.
I think I really love the art in this adaptation. And that page
Yeah.
of him suiting up and how like the
The
coloring,
sonar
shading,
suit.
all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
the sonar suit and you flip the page and Robin's suit, like
Yeah. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
looks awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Adrian Roy is a legend, right? And
Yeah.
um, I was surprised to kind of see like, oh, or be reminded that, oh, this is the only one of these four adaptations that she did. And I would kind of in my head, I'm like, oh, she probably did all of them, but no, like she only did Batman Forever. And it's interesting because out of all four, Batman Forever was the biggest tonal shift. So I feel like she
Yeah.
did a really good job of trying her best to get as much of the movie color vibe into the format here.
And and as far as like well, I think the coloring was very striking, no pun intended, at the lightning strikes in the very first page and how Arkham and looks gothic and the colors of all that looks awesome. The Batmobile going like toward the city, but in the Batcave, the many close-ups of Val's Batman up close, like all that
Yep.
looks great. I just think like the pencils throughout the whole book I think looks great. I think Jim
Yeah.
Carrey's Enigma, like that's what we see. That's what he looks like. Two-Face, everything just looks great, I think. I think
Hmm.
this I don't think and I mean daunting a little bit. You're following Jerry Ordway and then Jose
Yeah.
Luis Garcia Lopez. Like you're the next one. And
Yeah.
I'm unfamiliar with Dukevich's other work. I am.
Yeah, I
I
am
need to do
too.
some research, but like from here, it's kind of daunting task. Like you're gonna follow those two on the adaptation front. I think did an
Right.
awesome job.
Right. Yeah. My only major critique with the art is that some of the fighting looks a little stiff
Okay. Do
or
you,
not as comic booky
hmm.
like on well on me it's page 188. It's the fight in the uh at the Enigmatech party
Oh, that's what I
where
had open.
Batman shows up and he's like punching these two guys. Like normally in the comic, I would expect like the punches. This is a Justin Kowalski reference, but I don't want in comics like it feels like it's better when the punches don't connect. Like you see
Hmm.
more of the follow through than like the connection because you
Gotcha.
don't because this looks more. I guess I need to describe it more, but like a fist like touching a
What was the
human in
Neil
a book is
you
like
and
more static than if you show the follow through and have like the Biff Powell, like
I
the
think a better reference point even
trajectory. And
is
that's no in more spot that's in more spots than just this one in the book.
three panels prior to that when you're talking about and him kicking the dude in the throat. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm with you
exactly.
where
Same exact same thing. It's like I need to
yeah.
see like the dude like already falling back.
What was
Um,
the Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil story with like it was the Reaper.
oh yeah,
That one I remember looking up the interview in Neil Adams, he said something about like because the cover, he was talking about the cover
yeah.
and how you want to like 3 seconds before the action or something like there's something with three, I
Oh
swear.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's such a
Sure.
good point. So you bringing me that up makes me
It
really
makes
think
me
of
wonder if
that.
if Dukevich or did I get the name right?
You
If
did.
he like was doing other art art that was comics adjacent or something. I don't know. Like it's a interesting thing. Or maybe it was a directive too, like, hey, like this like doing it this way gets more like in the condensed panels because they have to show there has to be so much in a page to get the movie stuff across. Like I don't know. Like it's an
Yeah.
interesting thing.
Yeah.
And like I believe by the time you get to Batman Forever, this is probably Batman Forever probably I think has the most Batman fighting people than the other two
Than the
movies
previous?
before it,
Maybe.
maybe.
I'll say him
Like
fighting
hand to
the
hand, like
Two
yeah.
Face goons. there's an absence of the stuff, and instead it's
But I had to do that.
thank you, perfect.
But like he also has like a fungus gun. I know
Yes.
it looks like a green
Oh
gun,
yeah, yeah.
but
You like that?
the way it's colored looks like Mario Brothers movie fungus. It's
Yes.
kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, went all the way
But I
back
mean,
there.
it's hand-to-hand combat and stuff that's on his utility belt and on his suit and everything that he uses to
Yeah,
take
yeah,
down.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I really dig that. I think the absolute perk that I would give anybody to track down this comic adaptation is the art. Because even with
Yeah.
scenes that are pretty much the same as the movie, it's like lining up and positioning stuff is very different. And
It's
I think it's
different.
just
It's just a
visually it's
different
cool.
perspective on the movies
Yes.
that, yeah,
And I
for
totally
sure.
dig that. I like
Yeah,
that
it's great.
a lot. It ends, let's see, the ending, and I mean, as Batman's approaching Riddler, I think
Yeah.
that is an awesome Batman shot of like the smoke and uh from the collapsed tower. Like, oh God, that looks
Oh, it
awesome.
looks like Affleck. There's like that Affleck shot that's
Yeah.
like what from BVS where he's like in the Arkham at the end or something. Some shot where he's just like
Yeah,
mostly in
in
shadow and you
shadow.
see like the yeah, that reminds me of that.
And I mean,
It's neat.
and then it ends on the shot that that we know was filmed but not put in the movie of
Yeah,
Batman
yeah,
and
yeah.
Robin, which I think is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are yeah, artistically, I think for notes, those are my
Good
biggest ones.
different shades. You know, you get to see Two-Face in a minor hat, which is weird.
Yeah.
It makes me think that that had to be like like I don't sure I'm like there's no way the artist just did that because like that had to have been a planned
It,
thing.
yeah, and he didn't have that a couple pages prior,
Yeah.
when Batman has to
Yeah.
choose. He
It's
wasn't
like
wearing
he's
it, so
got it so he can like see in the dark part to get down there or something. Like there's a very specific reason that was there because it was
yeah.
had to have like this is going to be the movie that this has to look like this.
And visually, it's so funny to me that a PG-13 movie is different than a comic book. And I feel like when Two-Face and Robin are fighting there at the end, and Two-Face pulls out this really like gnarly knife, and he's
Mm.
swiping to try and stab Robin. That clearly is not in the movie. It's a more fun, safe fight in the movie than here in the comics. And it's
Where
funny
he
to
just
me
like
that
jumps out.
comic books, still has the whole like they're for kids, and that's more violent and mature than a
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you have any other like specific points you want to bring out before I
Yeah.
ask you too many questions?
Yeah. Ooh. Let's see. Yep, I have. Well, I wish I wonder what your questions are because I have a little points here about other things that just stood out to me.
Okay,
Should I go through those or should you do your questions first?
let's get to the questions
Okay.
Yes, you've got a question?
because there might be overlap, and you can say, "Oh, good."
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
as Ricky in Trailer Park Boys says, we can get two birds stoned at once.
Pew,
If you
pew.
don't know that reference, watch Trailer Park Boys.
Ah,
First
my dog
question.
agrees.
uh, what in the movie do you wish was in the comic?
Okay, that's what I thought you were probably going to say. So, what in the movie do I wish was in the comic? I have quite a few things.
Ooh,
Um,
okay. Fire away.
the more Alfred and more Robin. I did very
Mm,
much miss the someday Robin will fly again
that's a
scene.
great scene. I love that
It's a
scene.
wonderful Robin scene. That camaraderie and care between Alfred and Dick Grayson in Batman Forever is really good, really strong. And it helps sell the fact that like Alfred like was made the Robin suit. Like you get it at the
Yeah.
end. You get it mentioned in the adaptation, but having more of that in the book would have been great. So that's my number one thing. The Red Diary, anything Red Diary subplot related, or Bruce's dreams or nightmares and things like all that is completely excised from the book.
Yeah.
Um,
Which I get it.
so
Like we heard firsthand. I heard firsthand. Anybody that listened to last episode heard firsthand from some Scott Beatty who did the Batman Begins adaptation. Like,
yep,
man, what a task to condense, in
yep,
this case, a 200 or not 200, sorry, 120 page script down
script,
to
yep,
50.
yep.
Like, oh
Just
man,
anything
some things
that's
have
not
to go.
anything. I mean, like, and that's why so much of it was cut from the actual theatrical film. And so then,
Yeah.
of course, oh, it's connected to like this subplot is not action. It's more cerebral. It's connected to the love interest. Yep, it's gonna go. Despite
Yeah.
like, if uh I could see like if it was back in like the all of the Marvel movie adaptations, I think would have like multiple issues. So like if this was a
Hmm.
multiple issue thing, maybe they could have done more of that. So I didn't miss that, but the Robin scene I think would have been an easier ad. And then another interesting fun ad would have been like the we don't get any of the we don't get as much transition between Edward Nygma and the Riddler.
Yeah.
We don't get him we don't get Nygma watching the circus and the laughing and the inspiration by Two-Face and making the Riddler outfit. He just kind of shows up as the Riddler. So I missed that too.
Which is funny because I think the bank scene, they spend quite a bit of time on that one. So Two-Face does get, so I'm looking of like all of it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages just to like with that. And I'm with you on like my answer to it would almost be just like one page, but a montage, um, a montage of their crime spree rather than just hearing about
Yeah,
it
yeah,
after the
yeah, yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
What in the comic do you wish was in the movie? Not talking Schumacher cut, Red Diary cut, or anything like that. Just like
Um,
in this comic that you saw.
if I mean some of this dialogue, I think would be nice swaps. Honestly, they're just little. I don't know, like some of the things that Bruce would say or Batman would say, and some of the Two-Face dialogue. I mean, I guess that's the biggest thing. It's like, can Two-Face be like Two-Face in this book?
Yeah,
That's like the
exactly.
big thing for me.
What in the comic do you wish was in the movie? The opening.
Yeah.
I do. It's so quick and small, but I do like I like opening up to that. I really do.
Yep.
The bat must die, and sure, it's
Yep.
violent, scary, whatever. But that's me. I
Yep.
like horror. And then, what are you glad was cut from the comic? Like, what was in the comic that you're glad
Oh, these are great. All my
was
points
cut?
like line up with this.
Everything. Okay, good.
The sonar crotch batarang.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because like in the movie, he just like has it. It's from the belt, but in the book, he like it's like a zoom in on
yeah.
Batman's crotch, and he presses a button, and it like flies out of the belt.
Woo!
Which I also assume that must have been either planned or described from the script. Like it flies out of this, and then they probably like were like, "That's weird. Let's do this other thing." So that jumped
I
out to
don't
me.
like the implication here.
The implication that he just like presses this button on the bell and just like bloop, it flies
Fires out
out
of
of
his
it.
crotch.
So I'm glad that wasn't in there. And then I guess the last thing would be another like this is a telltale thing. Like Denny O'Neil must have been like, I am not adding in this holy rusted metal Batman. Like
Yeah,
not like it looks like he very intentionally cut that out, but like still had the dialogue in of like, oh, like you can read that and see like, oh, this metal's holy and rusted. But he had a different yeah, like it's interesting. It's like in this adaptation, you get like some context on the location and Batman and Robin working together, and it gets turned into a weird joke in the movie or an homage. Both are valid in their own way, but yeah,
sure.
I liked that in the adaptation better.
I think in Vogue, I'm glad. Basically, I know I'd have gotten context of what Dick says in the Batmobile, and I still don't know. Like, take a look at my love, my Timberlake. I don't know what he says. I've never
I
looked it
love
up.
it.
I
I
don't know what it
love it.
is, and I'm glad that that wasn't in the
Something,
comic.
take a ride in my love machine, baby. I think is
And my
that.
love my Timber, like I said, love my Timberlake. Like that's not a
Yeah.
word. I know that's not what
Justin
he says.
Timberlake.
I don't.
Yeah.
Justin, take a ride with me, Justin Timberlake. Woo! Uh,
There's your
all
soft
right.
intro.
Final, yes. Final thoughts on the Batman Forever comic adaptation, House.
Final thoughts. I like it.
Yeah.
I like that it's another shade, another view, another alternate take on Batman Forever.
Hmm.
It again shows that every time, to me at least, every time I dive back into this story, this movie, and things connected to it, I gain new appreciation for it. And yeah, like this adaptation is absolutely worth reading if you're a fan of the movie, to just see how they've changed things, how they've rearranged things,
Change
how
things forever.
forever, Batman Forever. So yeah, like it's a good time. It's probably, if I had to rank it for like all four Burt Schumacher ones, it'd probably be number two. I don't think anything's gonna really ever beat 89 because it's just the GOAT in
Yeah.
terms of adaptations. But yeah, this one's definitely a good one to look at.
Of the of like up to this point, the other ones that I've read, this one by far I had the least moments of like, oh, they cut that
Yeah,
in
I had to
reading
do
it.
some thinking. Yeah, it flowed pretty nicely, and then
Yep.
afterwards, I was like, "Oh, I missed it." Like, "Oh, I wish that was in. I wish that was in."
Yeah. I think this is like my thoughts of that. I think this is a good adaptation. I think it's one of the stronger ones, and I think the highlight 100% is the art. I think O'Neill does a good job summarizing the story. The art, like I've
Yep.
just said recently, was, visually it's awesome. The different perspectives are great. I think if you can track one of these down and read it, you definitely should. And then also track down the novelization and read it because they're different
Absolutely.
experiences that are awesome. So,
Yep.
Batman Forever. Woo! All
Woo!
right.
It was such a quick read.
Joygasm!
It was such a quick read. I didn't need to break out my Batman Forever bookmark.
Dude, I had the Riddler bookmark. I had
Has
it for
both
the
of them.
longest time, and it's
It's
somewhere in one of my moves post college. It
yeah.
disappeared, and that really makes me sad because that
Mm,
sucker was in every book I read
mm.
since '95.
You just got
Damn,
to find the book that
I
has
gotta
it.
look it on eBay now,
Yep.
or go look at every single book I have. Yeah,
Yep. You'll be texting me later. I got it.
yeah, I found it. All right, Hoss. There we go. Another adaptation in
We
the
did
books.
it.
We did it.
Did it.
Before we know it, it's gonna be next summer for one
Good
that
grief.
to be announced later, I'm sure. So, thanks again for sitting down and doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy talking Batman Forever with the fellow Ryan. Do you have any
Mm-hmm.
plugs at all?
Oh, just follow me on the Twitter at SMB_Ryan, and go and follow my Mario movie shenanigans on Twitter and Instagram at SMB movie. Just do that.
Do that. There you
Do
go.
that.
As for here, Batman Book Club on the socials, just go to at the Batman BC for latest episode drops and upcoming episodes. And I'll say it right here that the next episode, I believe, or it's going to be in July, Tom King's coming back to the show.
Oh, that's
So
great.
yeah, we got Big Tom King on the way. I think it'll just depend on when I want to, if I want to sit on it for like a month or if I just want it to come next. It might be up next, I think. So, but he's definitely coming back. It's already confirmed and scheduled.
Great.
So there you go. Can't wait to talk to him. Yeah, so follow the socials, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and help support the show. A variety of ways you can do that. Like I said, patreon.com/thebatmanbc, tpublic.com, type in TBBC. But if you want to support the show and you don't want to spend any money at all, it's 100% A-OK.
That's A-okay.
Easiest, quickest, most impactful thing you can do to help this show is rate and review it. So, however you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, go to the rate and review page, rate and review the show. Because the more reviews the show gets, the more it helps spread the word. And as you, as me, as Ryan Haas all know, that word is
Panic.
nailed it. So for Ryan Haas, I am Ryan Lauer. And until next time.
Panic.